Life in here very shortly. I'll give you a quick rundown too on this exhibit. Like the rest of our exhibits we have on display in the aquarium and all around the park, it's what we call a biotope exhibit, which means instead of just being a random collection of plants and animals, they try and sort of represent real pieces of natural habitat you'll find along the Northern Territory. I just want to fiddle with this connection a bit here. Sorry, I had baked beans for lunch. But yeah.
I wish leaves in the trees,
We'll see how that goes.
in
But yeah, so this biotope exhibit that I'm standing in now represents a real piece of natural habitat that you'll find down along the Daly River, known as the Ulu Crossing. Now, it's only a crossing by name nowadays. It's no longer used, it's all collapsed. So if you do get to the real Ulu Crossing, it's about 2.5 hours drive south of here if you're civilised and you stop for afternoon tea along the way. But you can park up the top, go down and have a look, but don't attempt to use it as a crossing, because unless you've got a helicopter, you won't be getting over to the other side. Also, what not to do at the real Ulu Crossing is exactly what I'm doing here. Don't do this in most waterways on the top end of Australia, standing in the water feeding fish. It looks like a lot of fun, but you'll be inserting yourself into the wrong end of the food chain. Now, that croc up on the bank there is just a statue. You didn't only look too worried, so I'd say you already worked that out yourself. But it's quite convincing in the right light. I came in one morning, and the guides had decided to plant it there without telling me, so looked over the shoulder and yeah, constipation cured. But if you do want to see a real saltwater crocodile, back in the aquarium you've got Graham in display in all his glory. And yeah, most waterways along the top end of Australia will contain saltwater crocodiles. As you might already know, the saltwater croc is the larger of the two species of crocodile we have native to the top end of Australia. Nobody told them they're called a saltwater crocodile, so they live in freshwater as well, wherever they like. So that's why even freshwater ways are usually not good for swimming up here, unless you have some exceptions, some spots where it's a bit more difficult for the saltwater crocs to get access and easier for the rangers to patrol, in which case they can declare some places as designated swimming areas, some at only certain times of the year. You won't have to guess where they are, they'll make a big deal out of it for you and put signs up. So if you're having to guess whether a place you're visiting is safe for swimming or not, then it's not a swimming area. No signage means no swimming, even though they do have crocodile warning signs in some places, which is very handy, very good way to remind people of the dangers. You still don't take a lack of signage as an invitation to jump in. It's a silly example for you, standing in the water. So yeah, that buffing action that the barramundis do is it's very dramatic, and it's the reason why normally when you go fishing, people will ask you if you got any bites. But when they know you're fishing for barramundi, they'll say, did you get any buffs? And this is what they're talking about. So rather than just coming up and biting their food, a lot of fish will suck in at the same time. Barramundi just do that, but in a massive hurry. They create an implosion into their face, and they suck in a whole heap of water, and when they're close to the surface, you'll see they incidentally suck in a whole heap of air at the same time. If you watch closely, you can see a big plume of bubbles come out the back. So their teeth are not really evolved for biting like sharks and some other fish. They're sort of bristly villiform teeth, which are at the back with their gills, so they're kind of there to make their throat a bit of a one-way street
I love you, Mama.
when they swallow their food. So they're not interested in taking one little bite, they want to take the whole thing. So this is not putting my fingers in too much danger. It does rule out skinny dipping as an option, but they do have pretty rough lips, so if they do get me on the finger or the toe, I tend to make a gender neutral noise when that happens, so we'll all know about it. But yeah, they're usually pretty good at knowing what's fish and what's fingers, as long as I keep my fingers above the surface. When I'm scuba diving in the tunnel exhibit in the aquarium, sometimes they'll buff my whole hand if they get a bit carried away. But here I can hold my fingers above the surface, and usually just a lot of drama and a lot of fun. Alright, so barramundi, these ones are a decent size, as you may have noticed, but they get up to around about 1.5 meters if they're lucky, if they live long enough. And they start out as little hatchlings out in the salt water, and they hatch out as male. out where their parents spawn, and those little male hatchlings get washed up onto the saltwater floodplains where they'll spend about the first year or so growing to about a foot long, and then those foot long yearlings will head upstream into the fresh water, and they grow to a mature male at about 3 years of age, give or take, and about 60 centimetres long. And so those mature males, they head back out to sea to breed, and then back upstream again, put on a bit more size, get up to about 85 centimetres, and that's when they change from male to female. So all these big meter barra that everyone's chasing after to get a big trophy fish, they're likely going to be female. So some of those fish management zones, like the Mary River for example, they want to give a lot of those big girls a chance to get out there and spawn before they get caught and removed from the system altogether, because one female can carry as many as about 32 million eggs on board. So it's like the goose that laid the golden egg. You want to make sure you look after those breeders, and that's why we'll often get stricter limits to how many fish you can keep in areas like Mary River and some of those other places, those other fish management zones. So just wherever you're fishing, check out what the regulations are in that particular area. Don't pack all your tackle the same way. Don't take all the same gear out there each time.